Davis, and you're watching the Evercade Effect.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Evercade Effect. This is Ed, and today I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons of why I think Evercade is behind the times, particularly the company Blaze Entertainment, who controls Evercade. And I just want to say, I love Evercade. I love the company. However, I think they could have done things better, and but there's always room for improvement. And these are things I've been talking about for a long time on Evercast and on my live stream. So that would be time to make a dedicated video. And we're gonna dive right into this, right? So number 5, there were no arcade titles at launch, right? If we go ahead and we take a look at Namco Collection 1, right, which is great, fabulous games. We get Dig Dug, we get Galaxian, we get Mappy, we get Pac-Man, and whatnot. We get Xevious. None of those are arcade titles. Yes, we get like Quad Challenge and Star Luster and Metal Marines and Battle Cars, but you know they're not as good. It's not the draw. It's really not what people were looking for. Really, what people were wanting, arcade titles. And if we kind of go back in time, and if we look like at some of the videos initially launched. People were really talking about. They were surprised. Like, why do we not have the arcade version of Pac-Man? Why do we not have the arcade version of Dig Dug? Is the Evercade even capable of running it? And we know that it is. I mean, now you can take arcade carts and you can go ahead and pop them in there. However, like they didn't come out until 2021 is when Technos Arcade 1 came out. Not until a whole year later. And honestly, I think that if they needed to wait a little bit longer and they launched with those arcade titles, I think that really would have launched Evercade into the stratosphere. I think they would have gotten more serious attention. I think people would have really loved the novelty of this handheld system that you could pop in cartridges and play arcade games. And I think at that point, it would have been fine if they were the red carts, if they weren't, those of you who don't know, anything that's arcade, Blaze is made purple, and anything that's computer, Blaze is made blue. It would have been fine to keep everything red, and I think they would have gotten away with it. But yeah, it took a whole year later. I think that was a missed opportunity, and all these things will kind of like add up to the end thing. I'm building upon it, so I'm calling out kind of some of these examples. And if we look at number 4, number 4 really goes with it. Okay, so we did get arcade titles finally after the first year. It took Blaze 4 years to get freaking dip switches, and the reason I bring this up, I talk about this a lot, that all free and open source products out there like RetroArch, MAME, all that stuff. You've got dip switches built in. You've got turbo fire built in. You have all these basic features built in. And I'm glad that we finally have it, like button remapping, right? So I picked this one because it stands out. We didn't get button mapping until a few years later, initially after Evercade release. They had these layouts, but you couldn't go in and you just could not map the buttons. And I've said this for the longest time, that when you have a product that you pay for, you expect all these features to be here and that you get in the free versions. And it's just kind of crazy that we're that we don't have. And I'm not even like talking about like online player leaderboard. That's a whole other thing. But these are just really basic features that in any emulation product you should have. All right, let's go on to number 3. I put lack of product availability. Let's go ahead and fix that. Let's try that again. Lack of product availability, right? And kind of what I mean is that there was a time where you could order Evercade, you could order the handhelds, you could order the VSs. All that stuff was available online. And I'm not even talking about the legacy carts that you can't buy anymore because they've lost the licensing agreements. I'm talking about your standard hardware, but they do have license agreements on products like Toplin 3, Toplin 4. Those have been unavailable for a long time. And this happens with Blaze, that they go through these cycles where they just can't quite get the product logistics right. And you would think after 5 years they would be able to forecast and predict with all the data, that they have from the previous sales. But they just can't quite get there. And it's very frustrating because when you have a big interest now with the Neo Geo carts and everything coming out, people want to catch up. And if you can't catch up, those are all those lost sales. And to me, it's just it really baffles me. Can't use the excuse that they're a small company. It's just, I don't know if it's just lack of effort, lack of technology, lack of something or other. But this just drives me crazy. And even now, we're dealing with the tariffs, the lack of availability. And I don't get it, because I kind of feel like, and some people have said this, that they're using that as an excuse that the product isn't ready, because right now, if the product is ready, people that have locked in the pre-orders, they would go ahead and ship it early, right? And say, okay, you're just going to be charged the current 10% tariff charge here. It'll be like $3 more for the Giga carts, and maybe like $2 more or so for the for the regular ones. But yeah, I don't think they're available. Otherwise, I don't know why they wouldn't just ship them now, unless they're like, you know what, we've had the release date to the end of the month. They've changed things around before all the time, so it's either that. I'm not even going to say that they're stubborn or inflexible. I honestly think that it's not ready. Again, lack of product availability, and the problem that they've done in the past, like with the Tomb Raider carts, they tie it with the sale of the handheld, and so because they're shipping them with the handheld, the handheld wasn't readily available last year, so the cart got pushed. The whole order of everything's screwed up. So that's kind of the problem. Is Blaze has based everything, all their carts, around the hardware availability, and I think it really hurts the existing customers, and and newer people that want to get into this. And now we're going number two. No, the next two really have a lot to do with themselves. Do with one another. I almost said the thing. They're too in love with themselves. And kind of what I mean is that Blaze plays it real safe, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I love the variety of carts and whatnot. And you'll see this one goes hand in hand number one, but they're too in love with themselves. They're like, oh, well, we played these games growing up. We played some of these sports games growing up that really don't hold up now. And we can't get NBA Jam because of the licenses, or, NFL Blitz or some of the other popular, if that would even run an Evercade, but that's beside the point. And I kind of feel like they just, they assume a little bit too much that that the carts they grew up playing, everybody really enjoys playing. They need more. They need more variety. Like Namco, friggin' phenomenal. Neo Geo that we have, phenomenal. And now that you can play the Namco NES carts, maybe we'll see the arcade versions. And that's why I say 2 and 1 kind of really go together. But I just feel like they're too in love with themselves, and they choose to go after publishers and get carts that they liked growing up. Understandable. But you got to go after more than that. It's very, it's very narrow-sighted, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to go to number one. They do not go after market trends, which is really frustrating. And I kind of get an example, like when Blue Scooty went ahead and beat Tetris for the first time, and that was in the public, and that was like in the public eye and everything. Why weren't they going after to have a Tetris Super Pocket? Why weren't they looking to get a Tetris deal? The problem is that, and Blaze has said this, like next year is already planned out. When I hear that, I cringe. When I remember like an Evercast and Sean told me that for the first time, I'm like, why do you have the whole next year planned out? You need to have some flexibility. And really, I could have put inflexibility for number one, but I just kind of feel like it's like, let's just quickly get it done. Let's get it planned. And there's no flexibility there. Like whatever's on trend, like Sega is, they're coming out with a relaunch of some of their games. Well, maybe you should go after Sega and put out, some of those retro collections. Sega has said they're not a retro company. Maybe Blaze could fill that gap, put out some Sonics, Shinobis, Streets of Rages, and all that stuff. I just kind of feel like, hey, it's easy just to play it safe and kind of go after, some of these developers and whatnot, like on the computer cart side, who, yes, they're dying for attention. They're kind of more forgotten. Same with Pico. Actually, hopefully we'll see Mega Cats this year. They kind of gonna go after what I would call the easier licenses, and I get that. But in 2023 is when Blaze peaked. They had a great timeline. They had a little bit of everything. We had computer, we had arcade. They even had a remaster of the Dukes, and I felt like that was going to be the standard. Like I felt like at this point Blaze had gotten to where they needed to be. They were putting out indie dual carts. They had a great mix, a great variety of everything. And then after that, it kind of slumped down. Like, nah, we're just gonna kind of put out this thing that you've never heard before. Which I like that, but like Gremlin 2 that's coming out, hilarious. I'll have fun making videos on that. But anyways, yeah, I just kind of feel like whatever's in the market, find the retro version of that. Bitmap Brothers with Terminator. Hopefully we'll see that they have a relationship with them. Like when the new Contras came out, they should maybe try to go after Konami. Put that kind of put that stuff there, and maybe they are, but it's just we're not they're not communicating that to us. But honestly, I think the Blaze needs to take a step back, not plan things out a year in advance, be more flexible to move things around, and just get up with the trends, see what's there, see what other companies are putting out with, and seeing if they're able to license some of their other products, like Sega, for an example, to kind of push them and give them free advertising for what they are coming out with, and then we benefit by getting the retro carts, and maybe we get Master System, Turbo Graphics. It's kind of been too long. Like that's a system that people really been wanting for a long time. And honestly, I just kind of feel like with all those 5 things that I said, Blaze is just kind of behind the times. And I'm afraid they're going to get to a point where either carts are just going to be, unavailable in America, or people are going to lose interest, and they'll have a very niche population of people who will only be able to buy it. And then how long till they're not interested? Anyways, my rant is over. I appreciate you sticking with me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much, everybody, and bye-bye. Thanks, Crashline, Immortal Sojourn, Amber Cummings, Joe Whitlush, Alex Groot!